What is going on, guys, and welcome to a brand new episode today. Today, of course, you join me in my Land Cruiser 80 series, my FZJ80 series. This is the 4.5 liter petrol inline 6-cylinder beast. It was called, the engine number is the 1FZFE. Similar, well, not similar to the 2UZFE that came in the V8 Land Cruiser, but this was the engine that preceded that. Now, granted, Toyota didn't actually make another engine like the 1FZFE. You see, the 1FZFE was an inline 6-cylinder, and after this they went with the V shape. So Toyota didn't make another inline 6-cylinder like the 1FZFE. But we're in my 80 series today, and I wanted to take you through the 5 things I love most about this Land Cruiser 80 series. First on the list is interior. You guys know back in the day, interiors were built different. I think these days interiors have really softened up. You know, they're no longer blocky and muscular. You guys can see from like the electric vehicles and the Teslas, we're literally moving towards just a screen, a fat, you know, iPad-like screen in your vehicle, which I absolutely hate, guys. I'm not one of those people who likes to add screens in my vehicle, you know, and just because I have an older Land Cruiser, I'm not going to add a bunch of screens in my center console. You know, the whole purpose of getting an older vehicle is to get away from all that electrics and all that nonsense of screens. So you guys can see the interior here. It's that blocky interior. It's a, you know, plastic vinyl dashboard finish with quite a nice finish to the vinyl. You know, the interior sits up at you rather than you looking down at the interior. It's a muscular interior, and you have got a much more straight up windscreen. You know, the windscreen is not as slanted as how the windscreen started to come in the 100 series and the 200 series. You guys know, as the Land Cruisers went up in series, Toyota made them like more sporty, you know, or more kind of streamlined and less boxy, basically. So this car was the last one that retained ultimate boxiness. And you can see from that interior, you can see from the door cards, check the handles and the doors, just solid stuff, you know, solidly made interior, everything bolted on, and everything just really cool, really functional. So love myself these old gauges, love the way these old gauges looked. You know, simplistic, nothing complicated. I do love the luxury gauges in my 100 series, but anytime I see these kind of olden style gauges, it really just brings a lot of nostalgia. So fantastic interior. The way the center console is set up, you know, it just gives a sense of ultimate muscular and go anywhere sort of vibe. So number 1 on my list has to be interior, and that of course covers the rear air condition, the way the vehicle is set up, so the passengers get that rear air condition literally hitting the back of their head. No Land Cruiser after the 80 series went with that setup. So unique things to the Land Cruiser 80 series, including the very facing up windscreen, which just gives you such a good panoramic view. You know, the visibility in this Land Cruiser is fantastic. The A-pillars are not even that large, and so I would say the visibility is almost better than, you know, the 100 series Land Cruiser. Fantastic blocky interior, and not an interior that we will see again in vehicles. Alright, and number 2 on my list is aesthetics, overall retro aesthetics of the 80 series. Check the images or you know, the footage I'm putting right now on the video of the Land Cruiser 80 series, and then look at the 100 series and look at the 200 series, and then look at the FJ62 series, guys. I can you know, confidently say that I think the FJ62 body was one of the finest silhouettes I've ever seen in my life. You know, the classic station wagon silhouette. It just didn't get better than the 62 series. Now granted, the 62 series wasn't the best handling. It had leaf springs. It didn't have the electric windows and stuff, so, you know, a bit less desirable. And the 80 series brought in all the modern amenities. But we've got to say, in terms of retro looks, the 62 series and the 80 series absolutely take the cake. And to add to that aesthetics, you've got the blocky headlights, that almost now the 250 series new Prado is what Toyota is trying to mimic the old 80 series. So blocky headlights, with blocky headlights, they're made of glass. So of course glass is very durable, glass is fantastic. And then of course the grills of the vehicle are all metal, all solid. So none of that nonsense fiberglass and plastic and chrome that came with the 100 series, the 200 series, and even the 300 series. Although the 300 series got a lot less chrome, nothing beats what Toyota was trying to do with this vehicle, you know, the solid muscular kind of conquer anything look. You know, when you see the Land Cruiser 80 series approaching you from the rear, when you see a Land Cruiser 80 series behind you, especially off-road, absolutely takes your breath away. And you know, that thought will come into your mind that, my God, is that one of the best looking 4x4s I've ever seen? And that's the kind of vibes the 80 series always gives me. The aesthetics of this vehicle, honestly, it's tough to beat. It's half the reason I'm so attracted to this vehicle, is those aesthetics, you know. All right, so number 3 on our list, and number 3 on this list today is suspension. Now, to talk about the 80 series suspension and what I like so much about it, we have to compare, you know, different Land Cruisers so that we can actually understand what I love so much. So to begin, as I mentioned, the 62 series didn't have the best suspension setup that I would say. It had leaf springs and was not very comfortable. No sway bars, so not the most ideal. Now the 80 series was the first Land Cruiser where Toyota really tried to up the ride quality, the overall ride quality. And to up the overall ride quality, Toyota still retained the 2 solid axles that they had put in the 62 series. So you have a solid axle in the front and you have a live axle in the rear, but they added coil springs, guys. Coil springs on all 4 wheels. The comfort of this 80 series is fantastic, guys. And the other thing I must mention about this suspension is this is one of the suspensions where I would say is the most easily moddable, you know. A suspension of 2 solid axles with coil springs on all 4 wheels is one of the most dynamic setups in terms of upgradability. It's extremely easy to upgrade this kind of setup versus what came in the 100 series Land Cruiser, which was going for an independent front suspension. Now, an independent front suspension, guys, means you do away with the axle and we put CV axles on both wheels, and we have a bunch of other items that are able to regulate the steering and, you know, the overall movement of the front end. But definitely with independent front suspension, what it brings, the benefit is much better ride handling quality. You know, you'll feel the front end just a lot smoother, and that kind of adds to the overall ride quality of the vehicle. But like what they went with the 100 series, they went with a torsion bar in the front. So you don't have even a coil spring, you literally have a torsion bar that's keeping the front end up, and then of course you had the hydraulic suspension. But the 100 series suspension, especially the hydraulic one, is not easily moddable, you know. You really have to kind of go at the extra length to make sure your vehicle is well leveled, you've put in the right accessories, you might even have to change the control arms, you're upgrading the torsion bars. It's much more complex versus this amazing setup in the 80 series where I wanted to lift my vehicle, I just changed the springs. I put 4 new springs in that are, you know, 2-inch higher height than stock, and my vehicle is already raised. And all I had to do after that is just get shock absorbers that can deal with that height. And so I got the foam cell shock absorbers from Ironman, and I've got a lifted 80 series that is handling quite well, quite smooth, well settled suspension now. I think it's doing a great job. So I must mention that this suspension, I love it for the fact that it's extremely upgradable and it is actually really smooth. I like the driving characteristics of a coil spring suspension, guys, I must say. I like, even though it's on 2 solid axles, it's got quite a good level of comfort to it, and that's because of the upgraded shocks, the upgraded springs. But you guys have to remember, when this vehicle was stock, it was even more soft. The suspension was actually soft and wafty. But I didn't need so much waftiness in a car like this, because this is a truck, you know, this thing can go anywhere. So I wanted a bit more of a rugged coil spring and some good shock absorbers to go with it. So number 3 on this list has to be suspension. Coil springs on all 4 wheels and 2 solid axles, nothing can beat it. And you have to remember, the 100 series, as I mentioned, came with the torsion bar in the front and independent front suspension, and the 200 series also has independent front suspension in the front of the vehicle. But the 200 series brought back the coil springs, and that's why I think the 200 series, for upgradability, for kind of lifting the vehicle and, you know, doing what you want, 200 series is also quite a good platform. I do like the suspension of the 200 series, but still the 80 series, I'd pick it over the 200. All right, let's swiftly move into number 4 on this list, and number 4 is engine sound and engine. So as I mentioned, one FZFE, it is a 4.5 liter petrol, and you guys would expect from a petrol engine that is 4.5 liters, it does make a good sound. And what I love about this engine is that it has that classic olden sound, that retro sound that vehicles back in the day had, and I just absolutely love that. You know, it's unique, and you just don't get it these days. You know, that sound when you click the ignition and start this vehicle, it just takes you right back to the 90s. You know, when petrol, big petrol engines sounded exactly like this. You know, they had grunt, they had sound to them, versus you know, what I've gotten used to with my 100 series, and of course the 200, where these are much more silent engines. You know, these V8s are like these smooth, buttery smooth, very silent engines. Now I know, guys, you can put upgraded exhausts, but I'm all for original exhaust. I put the OEM exhaust in this vehicle, and it just sounds amazing. So I'm not one to upgrade exhausts. I'm not one of those people who wants my vehicle to wake up the whole neighborhood, guys. I love the stock sound that these Land Cruisers came from the factory. I think it was fantastic. And so that's why I actually imported an OEM Japanese 80 series exhaust for my vehicle. So number 4 on this list, love the sound, the classic sound of this 1FZFE engine, and the nostalgic nature of it, and the fact that you're not gonna get engines these days that sound like this. Well, here's a quick feature that I didn't know even existed in my 80 series, and it's 2 years later. And I always complain about cup holders, but check this out. I had to include this in this video, guys. I mean, I'm just here cleaning my 80 series. I always thought this was a disc changer, but my God, I should have known better, guys. Cup holder, and a cup holder that you can literally stow away. What great thinking, guys. I mean, even if you put a giant bottle in there, you have got a cup holder. What a wonderful feature. I did not know this 80 series had that. The last and final thing, guys, to round this video up, number 5 on this list is respect. This is an interesting one, but you guys have to remember that every Land Cruiser generation, the Land Cruiser is built to be the most reliable, the most rugged, the vehicle that will take you anywhere. And every new Land Cruiser has to prove itself. So I must admit, when every new generation of Land Cruiser comes out, it's not like they've proven themselves yet. A lot of people are skeptical. You know, when the 80 series, when the 100 series came after the 80 series, a lot of people were upset. The 100 series is softer than the 80 series. They've gone with independent front suspension. It's not a real Land Cruiser. All this kind of jargon. Give the 100 series 12 years, the 100 series had developed its respect, that actually it was a Land Cruiser. Actually, it is very rugged. Actually, the independent suspension held up very well. So every generation has to kind of develop that respect. And the 80 series has developed this respect over 2 decades, 3 decades now. And so this car comes with a strong repo, guys. This is a car that is well known. This is a car that people will stop me and say, great car, mate, fantastic car, gorgeous car, love your car. And so it comes with that sense of respect that this is a generation that has proved itself time and time again. The 80 series has proved itself as one of the most venerable off-roaders that you can buy anywhere on the planet, and still purring along all these years later. So there's a sense of respect that comes with the 80 series generation that you just have to respect, you just have to appreciate. And when you drive this kind of vehicle, you know that you're going to command that respect from a lot of people and a lot of enthusiasts. And there are a lot of enthusiasts for Land Cruisers, and that community is only growing. I hope you enjoyed, guys. If you did, make sure you hit like, subscribe, comment down below. Of course, a lot more content coming to the Masai Gains channel, and I hope you have enjoyed the more regular uploads. And stay tuned. Stay tuned as we bring a bunch more road trips and a bunch more content, especially on Land Cruisers, to this channel. Thank you for watching. It's been Masai Gains, checking out.